girl, hey, welcome to my channel, Redefining a Woman's Worth, where we are living life for purpose, on purpose, in purpose. And if that sounds like something you're interested in, please don't hesitate to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time I come out with more content. This is a faith-based channel where I talk about like living life as a woman of God, living life as a daughter in purpose, entrepreneurship, and just really understanding your identity in Christ and just really being unapologetically you, right? I think life circumstances and lack of identity leads us to kind of be chameleons where we're like trying to just like fit in and mask ourselves in all these different things. When God created you uniquely you, there is not another you. Nobody can do what he gave you and put in you to do but you. So it's so important that we be authentically ourselves, that we operate in the gifts that he has given us so we can contribute to the building of his kingdom on earth as is in heaven. Okay, so I have not been on in a while, y'all. All the things have been happening. Like life has, begin to shift for me, and so I have not been able to get on, but I'm here today with another video, and we are going to talk about how to manage and navigate the answered prayers. Okay, because so many times we are literally praying, seeking, asking God, petitioning God for things, right? And I want to just put like a little pin right here, and my prayer is for myself, and maybe you guys can let me know if this is something that you feel like applies to you as well, is that I get to a place where I'm not only petitioning God for things, even if it's essential, right? But that I'm just literally seeking God for who he is, and seeking God for his presence, and seeking God for just more of him, and for, the manifestation of Holy Spirit and his presence in my life. Like that there is a saturation of his presence, that is on me, that is, on my children, that is on my business, that is on the ministry that he has given me. Like that it's evidence, right? That people see me, that they see the things that God has given me to build, and that they really know like it is something different about it, or that they can see that the hand of God is indeed on my life. So that is where I want to get to. But if I'm honest, like we live in a life we live in a time of life where, there's a lot going on with economy. If you're here in the States, there are things going on with our government. Like there's currently a government shutdown. There's been a lot of changes that has rolled out since we have entered into this new term for our current president. Like he's made a lot of changes in structures and systems, and particularly systems that provide some social services for people and different things like that. We know with the government shutdown, you have people who are either furloughed or they're working and not getting paid. You just have like a homelessness crisis in this particular nation. You have inflation at an all-time high, where things have increased in cost, but our incomes have not technically or met that increase, right? So it's a lot happening. So because we're experiencing a lot of things that sometimes it's like we are in need, right? You in need. Like if you need a financial breakthrough, if you need this bill paid, if you need a home, if you need a job, if you need a pay increase, if you need, X, Y, and Z, like those things are real. But I just want to say that I pray that we get balance, and that every time we come to God, it's not always about the things that we need, because his word assures us that he knows what we need before we ask. And so we can rest assured that, yes, it also tells us in Philippians that we should be anxious for nothing, and in all things through prayer and supplication and with thanksgiving. The key there is prayer, supplication, and thanksgiving. So that lets us know those things are not the same, because we would not see them back to back like that. Prayer is one thing, supplication is another, and thanksgiving is another. So we need to have all three when we are petitioning God, making our requests known unto him. And then in exchange, we get the peace of God that surpasses all understanding to guard our hearts and mind in Christ. So being in a place of peace in the midst of chaos, being in a place of peace in the midst of uncertainty, being in a place of peace when things are just being shaken up, right? Because the Bible tells us that everything that can be shaken will be shaken. So the kingdoms of this world, our economy, you know, our financial systems, you know, all of these things will be shaken, right? And so a lot of us have, even as believers, kind of gotten very comfortable and very dependent on these things, right? We have dependent on these systems, and these systems are in place. They have their place, right? Things like social services, welfare, like you gotta really look at the history of things, because things are not always what they appear. Like the purpose of those things ain't always what it is. It's like it was an agenda behind that. And those particular systems have created created a nation, and it created a generation of people who have depended more on the world system, or quote unquote Pharaoh system, than on God. And what happens is we grow complacent, you know, we lackadaisical, we lazy, and we're comfortable because we feel like, you know, we don't have to worry about anything. But the Lord talks about the shaking, and we're seeing the shaking, and it looks different because we're in our modern day time. But this is a shaking, and it is a shaking to awaken the body of Christ to know, like, God is your source. Your job is a resource. Your business is a resource. Your talent is a resource. Like, you know how, like, even if you're receiving some kind of assistance, that is a resource. That is not your source. And sometimes the brook dries up. Come on, somebody. Ask Elijah. Like, in the midst of famine, in the midst of a shaking, God instructed him. He gave him specific instructions, told him where to go, and that he would have, you know, he would be sustained. And so he did. He followed the instructions. He went to the brook. And then God commanded the ravens to feed him. So there was a season that he was receiving provision. But there came a time where that provision dried up, where that brook dried up, so he no longer had water. So now it was time for him to move to the next thing. And so sometimes when we see things begin to dry up, and when we see things that where the Lord was providing in a certain way, that he's no longer starting to do that, it's not always time to panic. It's never time to panic, actually. It's not time to get in fear. It's time to petition God and seek him, like, okay, Lord, what's next? Where's the next destination? Where is the next form of provision? What is the next thing you have for me to do to meet the needs? Because you know I have a need. And so I don't even know why I said all that. It must be Holy Spirit, because I did not get on here to say that. I really need to talk about, what do you do when you are in the things that you've been praying for? Many of you may know, if you're new to my channel, welcome. I thank you. I hope that the Lord bless you or speak to you through something that I say here today. I use a lot of times my life circumstances, and in addition to scripture and revelation and wisdom that the Lord has given me and allowed me to have to come and give like a word of encouragement or exhortation, to give testimony, whatever it is, to encourage you, because that's the goal, is to, you know, encourage one another so that we can continue to run our race with endurance, because sometimes we do get weary, and we need to hear, you know, somebody's testimony who can identify with where we are, but also that is on the other side, to say God does come through. Even if he come through at the 9th hour, the 11th hour, if he come through at 11:59 and 59 seconds, God is indeed faithful. And so I have been believing for a home for over 2 years, and it was a long 2 years. It was probably about 2 years and about almost 4 months that me and my family was in need of a place of our own. We had housing, and in 2023 we lost housing. Now, I never really foresaw myself being in that situation, because I had never been in that situation before. Like, as a child, I never really experienced it to a degree, and as an adult, like, I've always had stability. I always had my own place. I always was able to, you know, keep a roof over me and my family's head. So it wasn't something that I ever thought was going to be an issue for me. But one day it became an issue, and we were thrust into homelessness, and we ended up having to bounce around a little bit, going from different family members' houses till we finally end up settling at my mother's house. And again, just to give a little context, it definitely wasn't a conscious decision to end up at my mom's house. It was kind of like a turn of events, if you will. Like, it just kind of is like where we were led, like where we ended up. I was trying to avoid that for different reasons, but that's kind of what the Lord had in mind for us and where he wanted us to be. And so that's where we ended. So for 2 years and almost 4 months, myself and my sons had been living with my mom. And it definitely was not the most, it wasn't the greatest experience all the time. You know what I'm saying? It came with its challenges. It came with a stretching that I never even like imagine myself being stretched, right? It came with reconciliation, you know, between my mother and I, restoration of relationships. It came with restoration of my family. You know, my eldest son was not living with us at the time, and a year into this season, he came to live with us. It came with really understanding the importance of family, and so many things. So it's a lot of fruit that came out of it, but sometimes God just has a way of doing things that to you, it doesn't make sense. And you're like, God, did it have to be this way? Did it have to come through this uncomfortable set of circumstances? Did it have to come through, you know, the challenges and obstacles that came with being in this season, in this situation? And, you know, God, he just works all things together for the good. And so even though it didn't always feel good and it didn't always look good, you know, he worked it together for our good. So finally, after countless applications that I had filled out over 2-year period, countless showings that I went on, countless lists for low income housing or income based housing, countless, you know, attempts to secure housing, you know, even to the point of back in the summer thinking that, you know, an opportunity for a home came up and thinking that's where me and my children were supposed to be, and putting a deposit down and preparing to move, and just to encounter problem after problem every time we went to move in, to the point where I started to really petition the Lord to see if this was something that was happening. Because was it like resistance because the enemy didn't want me to walk in it, or was this, you know, the Lord trying to get my attention for this, to say that was not the place. So after prayer and seeking the Lord, I settled on that was not the place, and that the Lord was trying to warn us not to go there. And so I ended up declining and needing to get the security deposit back, which that in and of itself was so defeating. Like, if I'm honest, I felt so defeated because I'm like, now what? Like, we had our hopes up, we had made arrangements, we had got utilities on, we had told people, like, it was this big old thing. People had helped us with money towards security deposits so we can move in. Just to not be able to move in, like, it was like, I just felt so discouraged, because I'm like, well, Lord, now what? Because I had nowhere, like, I didn't have a plan B. I didn't have an alternative. And so I was just sitting there like, what am I gonna do now? And so, luckily my mom was okay. Like, when I let her know what was going on with the house, it was a lot of problems. It was a lot of drama. Okay. Lots and lots. And so when I explained things to my mother about what was happening, she was okay with us continuing to stay there till we actually found the right place, which was a blessing, because at that point you're talking about being in her space, you know, for over 2 years, right? And my mom, you know, she was used to living on her own. She was used to kind of, you know, just living life, you know, the way that she wanted to live it. And we, you know, with her allowing us to be there, we kind of, you know, disrupted that. And that was very difficult for her. And just, you know, two adults trying to live under the same roof just don't work, y'all. Like, if you know, you know, right? And so it had its difficulties, but overall, you know, we definitely got a different level of understanding, and we got to know each other in a more intimate way to really kind of build a better bond of mother-daughter relationship. So, you know, she was okay with that. But I was frustrated, because I still was like, Lord, what's up? Like, I had believed that I was in the season, like, to move from my mother's house back into our own. Like I felt like there was a shift. And so it was very disheartening because I'm like, Lord, like I felt the shift. I feel the release. I believe you're saying like, this is it. This is the season that y'all are going to finally leave your moms. Like every attempt that I had made up until then was just me trying to force God's hand, like just trying to get out of it because I just didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be in the fire. I didn't want to be in the uncomfortable place. So that was me trying to manipulate the circumstances to what I wanted, but it never worked. But it was in that particular season that I felt like, no, God said, right, this is it. This is the season for us to move. And so I ended up back at square one, y'all, back in August. I finally had to tell the guy, because we were supposed to move in July 1st, and we go to view it, or July 15th, I'm sorry. We were supposed to move in July 1st, but I told him I still needed a little time to get the rest of the deposit. So I told him July 15th, and July 15th came. I sent him the money, and he sent me a lease, and the lease, it was a problem with the lease. It was just all kind of stuff, but when I get the keys and go look at the house, it was terrible. So the whole month of July, all the way into August, I was just going back and forth, and I finally had to tell him I could not move in and asked if he would please give us our deposit back. And in good faith, he did. And I appreciated that. He was just a good guy. Like, I don't feel like it was anything with him. I think that it was just not the right place for us. Because he was a good guy. Like I feel like he would be a good landlord. He had good character and morals and integrity, but it just was not it for us. But the market is so crazy right now. Rent is like high, like, and I live in a city, in an area where the cost of living is not that high, but because of the shift in the market, in the housing market, like rent is like crazy right now. Like, I don't know, like what they're asking for some of these properties, it's like, that's offensive. Like, your property is not worth that. And it's so much. And it's like, how do y'all think a person's supposed to afford this rent on top of utilities and life and car and insurance and groceries and clothes and children and all the things? Like, because it's just been frustrating. It's been a frustrating experience because, right now rent ain't always affordable. So it was frustrating, the thought of, now I got to go back out here in the market to try to find a place for us, and try to find a place that was going to be within our budget, right? What we could afford, to find a place that was going to be in a good neighborhood, to find a place that was, going to be safe, to, all of these things. And so I just was like, Lord, why? Like, I feel this shift. I believe you said this is the time. And then one day, I'm talking to a friend of mine, and I'm talking to her about my situation of needing a place to stay. And she tells me to go and fill out an application at this particular complex that she had filled out on her application at, and she was in the process of being approved. And she had filled out her application probably maybe 6 weeks before she told me this. And she was like, I talked to the lady and I told her about you, and she said that she does have some units available, but you gotta call her now. She's like, you gotta call her and you gotta go fill out the application. And so I said, okay. So the thing about it is, a lot of times God will answer our prayers through people. And so we always want to be attuned, have our ear attuned to when people are, speaking to us. And you have to be able to discern the spirit and know, is this God? And I just had a good feeling about it. So I did exactly what she told me to do. Started the process, met with the lady, had a great first meeting. It was a lengthy process, so we had to do a lot of submitting verifications and paperwork and just all of these things. And so we did everything because I just had believed in my heart, y'all, that for some reason, I just believed, this is it. This is what God had for me. This is what God had for me and my children. Because when we came to view it, it was it was so pretty. It was exactly what I want. The little things, down to the small details, right? And so I was excited. I'm like, yes, I felt like the lady, I felt like we really hit it off with the manager. Things was looking well. I put down a deposit. I paid application fees. Everything was going well. But she told me from the beginning that the process takes about I think she said 4 to 6 weeks, or like 4 weeks or so, something like that, about 30 days to get approved. So I was just like, okay. And so I just had like a good expectation for the outcome to be like we would be able to move in. So like it was the amount of bedrooms we needed, the amount of bathrooms. Like I'm a type of person, I don't like carpet in a home personally. I think a carpet can become very disgusting, and it just can harbor a lot of germs even if you clean it. It just can. So I don't prefer carpet, and the place has no carpet. Literally none of the rooms, none of the bedrooms have carpet. It's all laminate flooring. The kitchen spacious, a lot of counter space, pantry. Like I said, like we got the bedrooms that I need, the bathroom amount that I need. It's more newer, so it just built probably like 5 years ago. It's in a nice location. It is it's just exactly what we needed, right? It's really like exceedingly and abundantly. So just kind of was waiting to hear from the lady, and sometimes she'll reach out to me and be like, okay, we still need this, we need that. And, and I would literally give it to her right then and there. I would not hesitate, just because I wanted to make sure she had everything she needed so we could get the approval. So it was reaching the probably like 2.5 week mark. And she ended up telling me that she was going to be reaching out to me here soon. She should have an answer. So I was like excited, like, oh my gosh, we about to be able to move. Lord, you did it. And I was just like thrilled about it, right? So my friend who even told me about the place, she ended up moving in. So I was at her house one day, and she was asking me like, have you heard of the manager? Da, 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 da. And I was like, not yet. I was like, I'm looking to hear from her soon. She told me the other day that she'll be contacting me in the next few days because she should have an answer. And so I will say that there was like, it was more of a lengthier, in-depth process for me because I'm an entrepreneur. So I don't have a W-2. I'm like, I'm self-employed. So, I had to submit a lot more documentation. I had to submit my tax returns. I had to submit my bank statements. I had to submit, things for my booking site, just to, prove income and things of that nature. And that was something that she said she had not dealt with before. She hadn't really dealt with anybody being self-employed. So it was more involved for the process, just because it was something that she hadn't dealt with. And so she was having to get a lot of reference from like her supervisor on how to deal with, my particular file because I was self-employed. I'm like, no worries. Everything she asked me for, I give to her. Okay. So then I'm at my friend's house this one day, and I'm just thankful and happy for her. She moved in. She's like getting settled. We over there chit-chatting and everything else. And I get the phone call from the housing manager. So I'm like, okay, this her. Get on this call. And I'm talking about, I just knew she was about to get on there and be like, okay, I'm sorry it was so long, but we got you approved. You're going to better move in. I get on there. And she told me I'm denied. Y'all. She told me I'm denied. I could not believe it. I cannot believe it. And we were denied because she said we had too much income. So I don't live in low income. It's not low income, but it's affordable housing. So what they do is they still have an income limit, unlike what you can make, you know what I mean? So they were saying that we would well exceed it, because my son he was 18 at the time, and he was working as well, and then I work, and then I also get child support. So they have to include his income because technically he's a young adult, he's 18. So they were saying with our 3 incomes together, like they're like cut off for a family of 3 or whatever. It's like 54,000. And they said I was like 20,000 over. And I was like, where? Like, I'm like, well, are you doing the numbers right? Like what happened? Because I just would like to know, like, how y'all coming up with this number. Like, what are you saying that he makes, and what are you saying I make? 'Cause I just want to know where is you coming up now. Like I say, now listen, I receive. Like, I'm not here. Like, I'm not that type of person. I'm not trying to have a poverty mindset. I don't want to make less money. You know what I'm saying? I want to make good money. I want to, have more than enough. But I just knew, like, something just was like, I don't know how y'all calculating. Can you like, please go and look over everything again and just make sure y'all didn't make a mistake? Because I know that this is not, my file is not what you're used to, because I'm self-employed and I don't just have W-2 employment. And she was like, so we talked and she was just like, she was like, I'll reach back out to my supervisor. She was like, but this came from my supervisor. My supervisor looked it over. She came up with the numbers. She was like, and she said, that this is what you make, and so you make too much, and so we can't, I cannot approve you. She was like, and so I can put your application back into the bottom of the list, and then if something else come up, and if things change with your income, then maybe we can get you in then, but like, that's all I could do. And I'm like, what? I mean, crushed. Do you hear me? And so I talked to her. I was pleasant and everything, but the moment I hung that phone up, I was bawling, crying. I was livid. I was angry. I was frustrated. I was going, like, I had broke totally down, literally, in front of my friend, and she had never seen me like that, never. Like, and she was like taken aback because, I was through. I was cussing. I was like, oh girl, y'all, it was bad. It was bad, because I felt like, why bring me all the way to this point, Lord? I believed, I did everything. I did my due diligence. I submitted. I trusted. I had the faith. Like, I did everything in faith. And I'm like, and yet and still I get here and hear you like, this is the end result. I'm like, now what I'm gonna do? I'm like, if we made that kind of money, I wouldn't be tripping like on going out paying $2,000 a month for rent. Like, that's not something I can do right now. That's above my means, out of my budget. Like, I can't pay $1,800, $1,900, $2,000, because for the type of amount of bedrooms and stuff that I need, that's like what they asking for. They asking a lot of money. So I was just like, Lord, I don't understand. I was totally like discouraged and just literally like, oh man, in despair. And I was angry, and my friend kept trying to encourage me, and she just kept trying to, talk to me and like, say, no, sister, I think she's going to try to, because the lady said, she was like, I will go back to my supervisor, ask her to look again. She was like, but right now I have to deny you. And so my friend just kept on being like, sister, let her just wait, just give her time. Like, let her see what she can do. I believe it's going to work out. I believe that, she going to come back and say, that they were able to, correct whatever the issue was, and that you can move in. She just kept on, but I wasn't trying to hear it, child. I was like, no, like, I was frustrated. I had literally got to my breaking point, y'all. I was exhausted. Like, I had been living in an uncomfortable situation for over 2 years. I had been, being subject to, just all kind of things that I just like was like, God, like, I had to see my children in living in a situation that broke my heart, like, for over 2 years. Like, I had to literally humble myself and allow myself to have to be subject to dealing with things that I felt like that was not what I should be dealing with, and having to be treated a certain way sometimes, and just having to have no peace. Can't get really no sleep because I don't have a bed to sleep in. I'm sleeping on a love seat. Like, not being able to rest, not being able to, just even have time to think. Like, just not even able to really pray like I need to, because I don't have space, like, to pray. Like, because I'm sleeping in the living room. I don't have a enclosed space. You know what I mean? Like, not being able to have alone time with God. Like, not being able to focus on some of the things, because I just cannot think, because it's just so much noise, literally, in the environment, like, spiritually and naturally. Like, I had just been going through so much, like, for over 2 years, and it had taken its toll on me, and I was at my breaking point, and I exploded. And my friend, she looked at me and she was in tears, because I was bawling. She was like, I have never seen you like that. Never. She was like, and I can't believe it. She was like, and she was crying, because she was like, no, sis, no, trust God is gonna come through. No, don't believe that, or don't think that, don't speak like that. She just kept trying, and she was emotional because y'all, I literally, it was like the lid that just blew off, and I literally, like, the pot was boiling over. It was like steam was coming out of my ears. I was so angry and so frustrated and discouraged, and I cried. I don't even know. I might have cried for like 30 minutes straight or something, because I was that discouraged, because I just couldn't believe it. And so so that was that. So then I just like, okay, now I got to go back to square one. Now I got to go get back on Trulia and Zillow and rent.com and realtor.com, and get on, Facebook, and just all these things that you have to do when you're looking for a place, riding around when you're out and about looking and finding, seeing a for rent sign, whatever. So I'm like, now I got to go back to square one. So I just was waiting for the manager to call me to tell me she was going for me to come get my deposit, because I had already paid the deposit. So my friend, she just still had a positive outlook. She just still believed that we was going to be able to move in. I was done with it. I was like, the heck with this. I don't got time. I'm cool. So the manager ended up messaging me maybe some days, later or something. And my friend, because she lived there, she would go over to the leasing office, and she went over and she talked to the manager, and she was just really pleading for me, y'all. Now, mind you, she already in, she got her place, but she knew that I was in such a dire situation. I didn't ask her to, she just took it up. I told her not to, actually. But she took it upon herself to go and even just plead with the property manager on my behalf. And the lady said she was gonna see what she could do. She was gonna try. She really gonna try to, she'll see if she can help me. She's gonna talk to her manager again. She gonna look over the numbers, all this, and things of that nature. So I was like, okay, but I still was just like, I'm moving on. I'm about to find somewhere else, because I can't. My mom is at her wit's end with us being there, because it's me, my 3 sons, and our dog. My dog started doing all kind of craziness around the house. He started, using the bathroom in the house, and he's housebroken, and it just was a lot. That was causing a lot of more frustration in the situation. My son, he was really starting to, act out with not wanting to go to school because he's in college, because he just he's sleeping in the basement. He doesn't really have a room and space, and he's uncomfortable, and I'm sure he, really couldn't focus, and it was becoming so much more intense, right? And so one day the property manager reached out to me, and she was like, I was looking over your file, and y'all do make this amount. It wasn't as much as the supervisor had said. I pray, Lord, let us make that much, okay? Let us make that much and more, let us make the 78,000 and more, that she said that I was making. But she did say we were still over income, and she was just like, is there any way your son can quit his job? And she was like, even if it's just temporarily. So I was like, well, he already quit. Y'all, let me tell y'all how God works. My son quit his job probably a couple weeks or so before she called me, on his own, because he didn't like the job. He didn't like what he was doing. So he took it upon himself to quit. So when she called me and was like, is there any way? Because she was like, if your son can quit his job, even just temporarily, then I could get y'all in. So I told her that, and she was like, okay, good, great. Send me, a letter that he resigned, that he no longer worked there. So I'm like, okay. So I get to, asking him to get these things from his job. And of course, it was just again, it was still obstacles, and us having to get all this information, and his job is oh, we don't provide letters of resignation or termination, or that an employee no longer works with us. This email serves as that. So we had to give proof of that, and we had to submit all that, and it was just a lot, right? But we did all that, and so gave her things to verify that he's indeed in college, and he's college student, and so on and so forth. So now we're about a month is like from the time we initially applied for this place. And I submitted all that, and I'm like, okay. And so just kind of waiting to hear back from them. And so I don't know, maybe it was like some days or a week later, she contacted me again. She called me, and I just happened to be at the house. I think it was my off day, or it was a day that I just didn't have to work, or maybe not work till later that day. And she called me, and she said that we were approved. Y'all, my God in heaven. Whew. After all that, she said we was approved. So I am elated. Okay, I'm thrilled. So I called my friend, because I think I was on the phone with her anyway, the one who had already lived in the complex. I called her like, sis, she called, she said we approved. We got to go in and meet with her on, this day or whatever, because we had like some papers we needed to come sign or something. And she was like, well, sis, I know it. So we celebrating and stuff. So I really didn't say much to anybody else. I just kind of wanted to let things actually happen. But I did tell my son, and because we had to together go down, because he, like I said, because of his age. So we signed the paper, she said, and she tell us that like that following week we was going to have to come back in and sign our lease, get our keys so we can actually move in. I was like, oh my God. Oh man. It was surreal. I'm going to be honest. I think it took a while to really hit me, because it was like all of that, like all of the opposition, all of the obstacles, all of the, time that it took, all of the, process, and then to get denied, and then to double back and be told approved. Like, y'all. And we up in here, okay? We is up in here. And I haven't even told this testimony yet. So, y'all, it has been so amazing. It has been so surreal. It has been like a breath of fresh air to finally have moved into our own place after being without housing and being homeless and living with family and going from pillar to post. And really kind of just having to be in this wilderness place for literally over 2 years. It has been like heaven to be in our own place again, and to, again, for God to not just give us a place, but you care about the details, okay? Care about I don't like carpet. Care about the fact I don't want to share bathrooms with my 3 sons, and that I don't even want to be on the same floor as my 3 sons, okay? So I am on the first floor, my bathroom on the first floor. They're all upstairs. Their bedrooms and bathroom is upstairs. Like I mean, y'all, kitchen, like I said, spacious, pantry, counter, space is great. I mean, just all the bells and whistles that things that I desire. So when God says he'll give you the desires of your heart, indeed, he will do that if it's his will. So I just want to come on and encourage you that sometimes, like, it's the testing of your faith. And I listen, I failed, the test when I got denied, right? I allowed the denial to really cause me to get out of faith and to lean into doubt, right? Instead of going to God, like, okay, when I hung up with her, instead of me just going to like, okay, Lord, I don't understand. I'm confused. I thought that this is what you said. Can you confirm to me what you said? Because if you said we move in here, I trust you. I believe you. And just leaning into faith, I chose to lean into my flesh. And I can give so many excuses as to why. Again, I was at my boiling point, my tipping point. I just couldn't take another denial. I couldn't take another thought of not being able to get in our own place. And it was just had got to the place where it was just, I couldn't take it. But still, I didn't trust God enough. And I had been in a situation before where I got denied for something and then they double back and they just approved me. But I didn't even lean into that, right? And I didn't lean into the encouragement that God was giving me in that moment from my friend, right? And indeed, what she said was true. And you know what? In that moment, my friend mentioned, she was like, why don't you just have your son quit his job? You know, if that's the only reason they denied you. And I was like, let me tell you how prideful and just how, you know, your flesh talks. I was like, I can't ask my son to quit his job for us to get into a house, to get into a place. Like, to me, it was like, how can I ask my son to do something like that? Like, he's 18. He wants to have his own money. You know what I'm saying? He's a young man. Like, how could I say, son, quit your job so we can get into this place? But I didn't even have to. He already quit it because he just didn't like it. I didn't even have to ask him. That's how God was already at work. And I couldn't even see it because I was so blinded by the circumstances. Like the Bible says in 1 Corinthians, I think 5:7, like we walk by faith and not by sight. And that's a real thing. Sometimes we got to just walk by faith and not by what we see. And in that moment, I just was so caught up in what I saw. I didn't stay in faith, but God in his mercy continue to work things together for my good. I continue to do the things in obedience, right? I continue to do that. I continue to, when she told me to, you know, submit these things, I did it. When she told me to get this verification, I did it. When she told me to come, you know, to the office, I did it. Like, even after being denied, I continue to be obedient. And so when the Bible talks about in Samuel that obedience is better than sacrifice, like to obey is better than the fat of rams. So probably because of my obedience, to continue to move in it, even though I was crushed in that moment, I continue to trust God in it by being obedient with my actions to do what it is that I needed to do to now be on this side, to be in the answer prayer. So I just want to encourage someone who's believing for something. Maybe it's a home, maybe it's something different, and maybe it's like you feel like you're at your wit's end, and you feel like you really can't take much more, like you're at your tipping point, like you're going to blow, you know, like God need to move, like you need him to move now, not because you're trying to control him, but because you're like you're at your fullest capacity, and you know it's very it's weighing on your faith. Like I would tell God, like, Lord, being in this situation is literally, it is weighing on my faith. It is weighing on my belief, like the core of my belief system, and it is challenging me to really have to think, like, what do I really believe, like on a real level. It's causing me to really feel like backed up against a corner, backed up against the wall, and be challenged and crushed on, who do I say God is? Like Jesus asked his disciples, who do men say that I am? Who do you say that I am? It's like I had to really, it was challenging me to have to confront, like, who do I really say God is? Is God really who, is the God that I profess, is that the God that I believe for real? And so it was taking a toll on me, like, and it was just like really, like, it was really making me feel like I was losing total faith and belief and trust in the Lord. And that was bothering me. So I was telling the Lord those things, and and so I was being vulnerable and honest with him in the midst of dealing with the obstacles and the resistance and the opposition and the denial and all of those things. But he is faithful. He came through. So be encouraged, and don't be moved if you get denied for something. You know, if you get a no, keep moving in faith. Keep trusting God. If he said it, if he said it's yours, if he said you move in there, if he said this the house, if he said this the car, if this the business, whatever it is, like if he said this the ministry, whatever, trust that, lean into that. Don't lose sight of that. Don't let go of that. Like, stay the course, right? Continue to press into him for instructions or for strength, you know, to continue to endure, so that you don't forfeit and miss out on the blessing. And sometimes he's just so merciful that he's not gonna let you, you know, he's gonna just come through anyway, because that's just his mercy. But it is amazing to be in the answered prayer and just, you know, really trying to take it all in, to enjoy it, to settle in it, but then also seeking the Lord on wisdom to sustain it, to maintain it. And number one, I want to say before I end this video, I'm already on here 44 minutes, and that's longer than I expected, but protect it, right? When God bless you, you have a responsibility to steward it and to maintain it, but to protect it as well. So making sure you understand how God wants you to have boundaries concerning that thing, to not allow everybody just to get a piece of it just because, you know, because you can, or just to open it up to everybody, or just to, you know, think, you know, that it's okay for, you know, just, you know, people or social media. You know, you don't tell your testimony unless the Lord leads you, right? Like, you just have to protect it, and you have to have boundaries, and you have to be willing to, you know, trust God as he's leading you on how to steward it. Because sometimes we get the blessing, but we lose sight on how to really keep the blessing, you know? And so, and that applies to whatever, whether it's a marriage, whether it's a child, whether it's finances, whether it's healing, whether it's breakthrough. It doesn't matter. Like, whatever we're believing God for, and when he does give it to us, we have a responsibility to make sure we steward it the way that he wants us to steward it. And we have to constantly ask him for the wisdom to steward it well, and the strength, right, to steward it well, so that we don't lose it, so that we don't, you know, forfeit it. So, y'all, he didn't answer my prayers. He didn't answer our prayers, me and my son's prayers, and we are in our place, and we are so loving it. We're so grateful, so thankful, because God did it. God did it. God did it. I didn't do it. I was obedient, but he did it. He made a way where there was no way. And if he did it for me, indeed, he can do it for you. So be encouraged and don't lose heart. I know it may look bleak. It might begin to look impossible. You might feel like God is not going to do it for you. You might feel like you've been waiting so long that you just want to give up. Just don't, because it is in that moment where you're closer than you think. Like, I didn't know when she called me and told me she had to deny me, that 2 weeks later, about 2 weeks later, she was calling me to tell me or maybe a week and a half later or something. It wasn't too long that she would call me and tell me I was approved. So trust the process, trust God, and praise him in the midst, right? Worship him in the midst. And you'll have a testimony too of how God came through for you, and now you are living in the answered prayer. So I hope this video was encouraging to you. Please like, comment, subscribe, share with someone that you know may need to be encouraged. And just continue to trust God, to lean into God, to not pay attention to the circumstances, your situation, your bank account, your resume, whatever. If God said it, it is so. And if God be for you, who could be against you? And you just have to believe. Like, faith is the currency. And obey. Obey, 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 obey. Obey what God tells you to do, is leading you to do, or instructs you to do, even through people. You know, make sure you discern the spirit, but even through people, do what he is instructing you to do, so you will walk into your promise. Okay? So I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.